All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another BizBuzz Live. I'm your host, Chris Muzan, financial coach, financial therapist, here to help you with all your financial stuff. Today's episode, we're talking about some important stuff. It's graduation season. Maybe you have a loved one that graduated. Maybe you have a niece, a nephew, a brother, a sister, a son or a daughter, a parent that just graduated college. I think they might have some unrealistic expectations. I want to share some stuff with you today, so stay tuned. All right, y'all. So glad you're tuning in. Another BizBuzz Live here. Again, I'm Chris Muzan here to help you down all of your financial path. Again, I'm a financial coach, been blessed to be in this industry for the past 10, 11 years or so, getting a chance to educate people on how to get ahead financially, how to build their financial foundation properly. And no matter where the conversation goes or how old people are or young people are, whatever age demographic, whatever psychographic, whatever they choose to do for a career. Normally, when we're having these financial conversations, it always comes back down to what do we do to make money? Before we start talking about how we're saving money and how we're investing money, where we're choosing to place our money, if we're getting out of debt, if we're staying in debt, before we talk about insurance protection or estate plans or any of the financial products that we actually need in order to get our financial life to the place we want it to go to, we have to make sure that we are thinking about how our money is coming in. How are we bringing in revenue? So whether that's with your job, right? You got a 9 to 5, you got a 8 to 6, or however it works. Maybe you work mid shift, who knows, right? But whether it's from your job, whether it's from a side hustle that you do, whether you have a full-time job and a part-time business, whether you're a full entrepreneur like myself, regardless, we got to figure out how are we bringing in more money. And your cash flow, what the differences between what you make and what you spend, that number is going to determine a lot of what you can do out there in your financial life and help and build your foundation. So on the show, we're going to talk all this stuff about the cash flow side. How are we making money? What's happening in the industries that are out there? Obviously, I'm in the financial services space, so I get a chance to see a lot of things from many different industries because I get a chance to sit down with a lot of people. But what's happening in your industry? If you're in hospitality, if you're in trucking, if you're in retail, if you're in real estate, if you're in the medical field, what's happening in your industry? I was just having a conversation with a guy over on another platform, and he's in car sales, and he's been in car sales and automotive sales for about the past 8 years. And he says he enjoys it, he loves it. He was like, but things aren't working out the same in the industry. He's like, I'm watching the industry decline. I'm watching low inventory. I'm watching people get smart and not come into the dealership to shop. So he was like, there's a lot of changes in the industry. So he's pivoting and he's transitioning. He's still going to be in, looks like the, automotive side of things, but he's not going to be just selling for the dealership, right? Those nuances are happening in every industry. Very soon, I'll give you guys some insight, LinkedIn and YouTube, since you're here with me live. We're going to be starting a show very soon to talk about what's happening in the hospitality space. We're talking about restaurants and hotels and what's going on in hospitality. We're going to bring on some hospitality leaders, some restaurant leaders, some managers, some presidents, vice presidents, some people that are running companies, and talk about kind of what are some of the changes, what are things that are happening. Obviously, there's upsides to lots of industries, but there are downsides to every industry. We have to become aware of those things if we want to take control of our financial life. So we're going to be starting a show about hospitality coming up soon, but this is happening in all industries. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that is, again, pressing kind of top of mind because I'm watching a lot of graduations, high school graduations, senior graduations from college, higher ed degrees, people getting their master's or their PhD, doing their dissertations, and finally getting a chance to walk the stage. This is happening right now in the season that we're in. It's graduation season. Shout out to anybody that has graduated, right? Like kudos to y'all for graduating. Big pat on the back. Graduating high school or college, right? It's just a matter of perseverance, I believe, more so than and I don't want to take anything away from people, right? Like more so less about brains, more about perseverance and dedication, and right, doing what you say you're going to do, right? Seeing something through and committing to it. Because at the end of the day, like, no one will remember what your GPA was. No one that cares at all when you're 65 will ask you what you did in that chemistry class or how tough your right any of your curriculum was. But at the end of the day, you persevered, you pushed through, you finished something that you started. So that's a big deal. But I think maybe coming out of school, this is leads into our topic, might have some unrealistic expectations of like what the work world is like. Many times, and again, we see this a lot when we get a chance to sit down with people, that now you're coming out of school about to face what they call the real world, right? The real world. The real world's about to smack you in the face if you haven't had a job or you haven't been in your career because you've been going through school. Now the real world comes in. And what happens in the first step of your real world training? You got to do some job interviews. For those of you that want to have a job, I would guess that you went to school to have a job, right? I would guess that that was probably the reason why you got a degree, so that you can get into a position or a career that pays you some money, right? Most times it's happening a little bit more, right? Because people are choosing to go to school and then come out and be an entrepreneur, but normally they're not equipped to do that. Once they go through school, they're equipped to go work for somebody. So normally coming out of school, you have a job. So what's the first thing you got to do? You got to get into job interviews. You got to put in some resumes. You got to scour LinkedIn and find out the ideal company that you want to be with, and then who works for that company, and then what skill sets do you need to get your foot in the door. That's what you're kind of figuring out a lot of times, right? I came across something as I was going through this and kind of preparing for today. I found this survey that I believe was on Fox News that surveyed over 800, I think it was employers, that talked about what was happening in the job interview process, right? And some of these things I wanted to be able to highlight with you today, because I think some of you are going to get a kick out of this, and maybe there's some eye-opening things here that we can kind of learn from. So, drop a comment if this stuff resonates with you, but I'm gonna share it with you because this startled me, and I think it's something we got to talk about, especially on platforms like this. So it says here, during job interviews, employers say that recent college graduates have done some of these things. So let's dive in and look and see what recent college graduates have. The top thing that says 53% of college graduates have done this in these job interviews was struggle with eye contact. Struggle with eye contact. That's a big one. You guys know, if you're going to go out and get a job, they're watching how you operate, especially if you're dealing with people, right? Do you make eye contact? Do you shake hands with people? How firm is your handshake? How long can you hold eye contact? Are you shifty eyed, right? Like, these are things that will cause you to either get a job or not get a job. And sometimes, right, coming out of school, we might not know that those things are important. We might not know that looking at someone in the eye when you're answering a question is a sign of respect, or, right, giving them your full undivided attention. And so this expectation that we can come out of college and we should just go in and get a job because we have a degree, but we've never learned some of these interview skills, some of these interpersonal things, well, we're highly mistaken for a lot of graduates. Here's another one. This was big. It said 50% of these interviewees asked for unreasonable compensation. That was kind of funny to me, right? Half of the people that they sat down, so 400 people asked for unreasonable compensation, meaning they were asking a company for money that clearly was not for their job duty, or it was just something way out of that range. Now, this could be for many different reasons. One, it could be a lack of understanding. College graduates, how many of you have come out and of college, right? And expected a certain salary, right? You've been looking at magazines, you've been talking to advisors, or you've been talking to your friends or whatever it is, and it's like, this is what this degree should pay. We hear that a lot. This is how much my degree should pay. This is the starting salary. So maybe it's a lack of knowledge. Maybe we're coming out of college or coming out of school thinking your degree should get you $75,000 a year, but entry level, that degree really only gets you $42,000 a year. So you walk into that interview asking for 65,000, and they look at you crazy because they're like, we're not paying you more than 40, right? Well, who's to teach us that? Who's to teach the graduates that? What is reasonable compensation? What is reasonable compensation, right? We could throw the onus on the employer, right? Like, well, they give a salary range, maybe. Well, what is reasonable? What's reasonable for my work experience? What's reasonable for the degree I have? What's reasonable for the job title? Maybe they threw out unreasonable range, so maybe it's not fully on the employee. But I would guess that if you are getting out of college, right, you probably have an idea of how much money you want to make, of course, because of student loans and all the other things. So maybe we're just asking for too much. Maybe what your expectation is unreasonable as far as compensation. It was shocking to see 50% of people, of the interviewees, had that, right? 47% were dressed inappropriately. Dressed inappropriately. Either, I was having a conversation, it's either dressed up or dressed down, right? Some people might think dressed inappropriately, like, right, women have a lot of skin showing, or, whatever the case is, but it could also be the dressed down side. What if people are showing up in flip-flops and jeans and not presentable? What if they haven't shaved that morning, right? What if women's hair is not kept? What if they have very baggy clothes on, or whatever the case is? 47% of people that were interviewed they were dressed inappropriately. They were seeing people dressed inappropriately to the job interview. So again, unreasonable expectation that I could walk into this company however I am, presented however I am, and because of my degree, because of my talent, because of my work experience, or lack thereof, whatever, like, I should be given the opportunity or should be given the job. Maybe the graduating class has an unrealistic expectation for what it means to actually go through an interview process or to be selected to work for that company. So a lot of people were dressed inappropriately. It says here then 27% used inappropriate language. Again, just not understanding who you're sitting in front of or what the reason was, for you using that inappropriate language. But at the end of the day, it's a job interview. They're interviewing you. You should be on your best behavior, so to speak. You should be presenting your best self. And maybe you don't think, or that this person didn't think, that inappropriate language or bad language mattered in an interview, but it clearly does. It clearly does. So maybe we just aren't training people on this. Maybe we're not teaching the next generation this type of stuff, but it's important because it's happening. It's coming up. The last couple, these two were big, right? Even though they weren't the biggest on the list. I can't believe that a percentage, 20% of people were doing this or had seen this, that it says they refused, 21% refused to turn on a camera during a virtual interview. Imagine being on a Zoom appointment, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine being on a Google Meet. Imagine being in any form of a video appointment. Your employer, your potential employer, has on their camera. You, the interviewee, chooses to not turn on your camera so that interviewer can see you. What's the likelihood you think they got the job? Slim to none, right? What's the likelihood that you think someone that chose to not turn on their camera in an interview actually got the position? Slim to none. What was their expectation? That's the question. What was their expectation? Did you expect to get that job with no camera on? You thought it was just going to be a video over the phone call, right? These are college graduates. These are recent college graduates. These are people that had gotten their 2-year, their 4-year degree, They should have their head on their shoulders, so to speak, and they are not turning on their camera. Here's the last one. The last one really shocked me. And I'm probably going to end on this one because it was that shocking. But 19% said that of these employers, the interviewees brought a parent to the interview. Literally, mom or dad showed up to the interview with the interviewee. I've never heard of these types of things, right? Like this is, I was talking about this with a friend, and it's like, unless like mom or dad was giving you a ride because like you didn't have a car or something happened to your car, like why would they be at your job interview? Like they can't speak for you. Do you need them there for moral support? Like what is it that they would show up for? What would be the reason? So that one baffles my mind. But understand, we're living in a softer generation. There's a generation of people that are graduating high school, graduating college, that have never been trained properly on things like this, on etiquette, on job etiquette, on how to go off and build income, on starting a career, right? Many of the 2024 graduates may not be in a job for longer than 7 years or longer than 10 years. They are in a generation where they may jump and skip and do different things and dabble in entrepreneurship and test a lot of different jobs and be in the gig economy. Lots of these things could change. So, right, these skills, these soft skills, these making eye contact, this learning how to ask for reasonable compensation, or understand what the job offers, or dressing properly, or using the right language, or making sure that you are turning on your camera or showing up presentable online, not bringing parents or relatives to your interview, right? Who's teaching these skills? How does a young person know? How does someone that's 22, 21, 23 years old know that these are the things that interviewers are looking for? It's our responsibility to help, yes, right? But this also shows kind of where we are as a society, where we are in our training of the next generation of workforce, right? And again, remember the thesis of the show, ladies and gentlemen, is to make sure that we're talking about career, industry, how we're going to go make money. The people that we're interviewing or that were being interviewed with some of these results, I don't know that they have a shot. I don't know that many of these people have a shot to go off and build a successful career in the traditional workforce, maybe, right? Like maybe in an alternative workforce, maybe as more of an entrepreneur or more of a freelancer, or somebody that finds a way to make money on the internet as an influencer or something like that. Sure, you might not need some of these things. You might be able to dress however you want to and bring your parents up on camera and, use whatever language you want and ask for whatever money you want in a brand deal. Sure. But from a standard of, hey, I go to school, I get good grades, I do what my parents said, I got a degree, I might begin some higher education, then I come out of school and I want a job. Are our expectations too high? What are we expecting to get when we walk into that job interview? And hopefully we know how to handle ourselves when we walk in that door. But I wanted to highlight that because, again, I know it's graduating season right now, and a lot of people that just graduate college may not know what they want to go do. When you get out of college, there's, again, hope some of you probably see this. Drop a comment if this is you, right? You went all the way through your 2 years or all the way through your 4 years, and you still don't know what you want to do, right? You still kind of don't have a plan for where you're headed. You still don't know how you're going to pay off the student loans. You still don't really know if you're going to like the career that you chose or that degree that, is leading you in that career. You're not even sure if you like that. If that's the case and that's you, learn some of these soft skills, right? Learn some of these softer skills. Learn some of these skills that are going to help you understand how to go out and where somebody will say, hey, that's a person I'll take a chance on. That's a young person that, I can see their degree. I can see their, what their credentials on paper, but I also can see their character. I can see that they look me in the eye. I can see that they showed up dressed presentable and appropriate. I can see that they know how to communicate and use their language well. That's what you want people to say, right? So we have to work on that. We have to work on that. And by you working on these areas and right coming out of college with this degree but working on the soft skills, I think it's going to lead people to better career decisions, better jobs, better employment, better opportunities. Those are all the things that will happen as long as you start to get better and you can focus on those things. So again, ladies and gentlemen, every single Wednesday we dive in here to some of the things that are happening in career, in industry, and what's happening in your society right now when it comes to making money. As a financial coach, I want to help people keep more of the money that they're making, grow their wealth, put themselves in a position that they can now design their ideal life financially. It starts with how we're making money. So this is a big conversation. I always enjoy having it. Hey, every single Wednesday, jump on LinkedIn, YouTube, we're live. Share this with a friend, drop a comment, drop a note in there so we can continue to engage and have the conversation. And join us next week so we can have some more conversations about what we got to do to go off and design our ideal life, make all the money that we want to in the careers that are fulfilling to us, that push us in the direction of becoming better people. Remember, at your job, it's not about what you do, it's about who you are becoming. Who are you becoming by sitting at that job? Who are you becoming by being in that business? If it's not the person you want to become, let's make a pivot. Let's go out. Let's do some things that fulfill us and hopefully change our financial life as well. Until next week, y'all. Take care.